Good evening. You're watching You Decide. A day after the government said that no smoking will now be seen on screens, not just in films but also on television, the film industry has of course reacted with some sort of shock and confusion. But the question we're asking on You Decide this evening is, will censoring cigarettes stop smoking? Will censoring cigarettes stop smoking? SMS yes or no to us at 6388. That's NDTV on your mobile phones. Also email us with all your comments and suggestions at feedback@ndtv.com and feedback@ndtv.in. But joining us on the program this evening, Dr. Sajeela Maini. She's President, Tobacco Control Foundation of India. Also joining us, Rajat Sethi. He's CEO, Wonderman India Limited. Thank you both so much for coming into the studio. If I could just start by asking you, we've seen that there has been a ban on smoking in public places in some parts of the country. In Delhi, for instance, the city that we're all very familiar with, we've seen that ban hasn't really worked. So does bringing a law really in place or imposing such bans, do they really have any effect?
Natasha, we should have a combination of coercive and corrective measures. To arrest the tobacco menace, we have to have a global scenario. It has to be a coercive method, the disciplinary measures with the law and with the other disciplinary actions. And we should have corrective measures treating tobacco cessation, treating people of the tobacco dependence by having more awareness programs, having more cessation workshops. It is basically there are two ways in which we can tackle the problem. It's prevention of the tobacco consumption and the treatment of the tobacco dependence.
Right.
So the law...
and what are we doing here? We are trying to reduce the exposure to those who consume tobacco.
We are trying to reduce the demand. It's the demand reduction. Yeah.
Right.
There are two ways in which we can tackle the issue. It's either the supply reduction or the demand reduction.
Right.
Here we are having the demand reduction.
Does this really bring down the demand, do you think?
Well, it's a divergent viewpoint, but I feel that there are two aspects to it. If you're looking at banning surrogate advertising, I'm all for it.
Right.
But even there's a caveat in the sense that there are two kinds of surrogate communication. You have surrogate advertising for the sake of just, getting away from legislation.
Right.
Where you just produce a few products like playing cards and, sort of brand them under a liquor brand name and then sell them. That's wrong. But if you are using surrogate communication to actually extend a brand equity that you've built of a particular brand, today it's not allowed to be advertised.
Tomorrow, who knows it?
Who knows?
Right.
Or whatever. But the fact is that you've built certain brand equity. Consumers are aware of that brand. And then if you're using that brand to actually extend it into other product categories, I see no harm.
Right.
Because it's just a brand name. And over a period of time, the rub-off of that particular tobacco or cigarette will go. It'll be more on the current product category.
Right.
So that's what I feel.
Right. Well, just a quick look at that vote. And 66% of viewers, Sajeela, I have to tell you, say that it's really not going to help the censoring cigarettes. And that's something clearly that makes you happy. Censoring cigarettes, they feel, is not going to really help stop smoking. We're going to talk a bit more on that. I'm now joined from Mumbai by my colleague S. Ramachandran. Ramachandran, as many of you know, tracks Bollywood very closely and has been speaking to several people from the film industry today on their reactions to this. Rama, we believe mixed reactions, while filmmakers are clearly upset, saying that the scroll, each time they have to carry a scroll saying cigarette smoking is injurious to health, is really going to be bad for business. But several actors who could really be smokers are in favor.
Yeah, primarily if you look at this, Natasha, certain people definitely want that they want to stop on smoking on screen, but at the same time, they do understand health concerns. Like, for example, Sharmila Tagore herself said that she understands the health concerns, but then there is a very simple thing. How many times can you carry a scroll? It completely destroys the aesthetics of a film. Or rather, if you look at it again, there are so many filmmakers who are making period films. For example, if you look at old films and you look at a Nawab smoking a hookah. Now, if you have a Nawab and he doesn't smoke a hookah, he doesn't look like a Nawab. Right. So there are a lot of questions which you can't tamper with creativity all the time. That is something that they are against. Natasha.
Right, Ramachandran, let's get some more views from our guests here. Stay with us, Ramachandran, there for a moment. Sajeela, that Fair argument. How long can you really tamper with the creativity there? And if it's cigarettes now, it may be non-vegetarian products tomorrow. They may say that let's have hero and heroines not consuming any meat products because they are also injurious to health in some way or the other. So where do you draw the line?
One thing I want to ask Natasha, do we have film actors having narcotics in public?
So you're saying take it that far?
Yeah, if narcotics can be banned, why not smoking? It's tobacco is as addictive as heroin and cocaine. Why do we make it socially acceptable? And then be in an indirect way, in a subtle way, we do promote the product. And see, it's like young children, and this law would have a major impact on the young adults, the teenagers, and the small children who tend to identify with the so-called social idols.
So you agree with the government when they really say that?
Yeah, I do agree.
Youngsters see the hero or heroine smoking and pick up the cigarette.
Yeah, because in India, tobacco is a pediatric epidemic. Right. We have 5 million child smokers in the country, and the number is increasing by 55,000 children taking up regular tobacco use every year. So at least they don't know. Once they are into the habit, by the time they're into the habit, they are unable to leave it because it's very addictive.
Right, Sajeela. Those figures are alarming, Rajat. Let's not deny that.
The fact is, I'm saying there are so many ills in society. And when you look at why are you singling out a single medium? Why don't you take preventive measures? And like I was telling doctor, she's a doctor, why don't you sort of pull out the root cause rather than actually looking at the symptom? The root cause is the fact that there are manufacturers who are producing cigarettes. The government is not banning manufacturing of cigarettes. The government is doing nothing about cultivation of tobacco. Let me just finish that. Sorry. But the fact is that if they are not banning cigarettes, I mean, that's where the issue comes. Why? Because there's excise revenue, because, it fills the government exchequers, and therefore there's, it's a political issue. Whereas the easiest populist
either ban it or let it function like any other product. That really seems to be your argument.
Yeah. We had, some months back, 2-3 months back, we had a ban on gutka in Maharashtra. And Dr. Ramados, we just made a statement that we're thinking of a nationwide ban on gutka and on pan masala. So we're going for the also. It's not that it's taking this chunk, that chunk, or that. It has to be a global way.
Let me just quickly mention that, okay, you got a thematic film. You got a film like Devdas.
Right.
What are you going to do in Devdas?
Right.
Devdas is, yes, agreed. He was a womanizer. He used to smoke. He used to drink. But that's the story.